Did you know goldenrod makes an excellent tea?
Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday, dear Aaron.
Me. You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity.
Or what's inside. You suck. Finally, we're going to reveal the... Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Tomic's... veteran of the comic book industry for 30 years, I'm a writer, I'm an artist, and this sucks.
Stew, and her name is Minerva Oaks. She's the flower of the Coward Coach.
Don't start! We haven't left yet!
50th anniversary of Jaws. How about that? Nah, we're not doing a Jaws show today, but I will be soon because I can't help myself. But welcome, everybody. It is once again time for Aaron Live. It's July 13th, 2025. And time just keeps rolling along, as you can tell by my old gray beard. I was looking back on some videos of when I first started doing this, and there was gray in it, but it wasn't like Santa Claus white like it is now. We're not getting any younger, are we, folks? Well, why start off on a depressing note? Like this woman right here, she's about to get eaten by a shark, right? That's kind of depressing. But let's be happy. Let's be joyous. Is it even possible for me to not be a grumpy old man? I don't know, but we're going to try. What a show. What a tremendous show I have for you guys. Well, actually, now that I look at it, it's very similar to every show I do every week. And I guess that's a question maybe that I should throw out to you guys. Do you like the comfortability of knowing what's coming every week from me? You know, we've got our little segments that we do every week, or do I need to mix it up? Do I need to freshen it up? Do I need to try some different things? I'm not saying I will, but it is kind of a, curious question that maybe needs to be asked. I don't know, but I do know that I appreciate art, and it's going to be a very art heavy show again, which tends to be most of the shows. I don't know. Maybe I should work in more movie reviews. I don't know. Maybe less movie reviews. I don't know. It's a variety show. It's a show about everything. So, anything's fair game, I guess, as long as it interests me enough to talk about it. And then hopefully interests you enough to listen. All righty. Let's, you might think to yourself, I bet Aaron prepares these intros because he always has something to say right before we get into the show. I don't. I wing it. I have no freaking idea. I was just putting out Graybeard's fires like 5 minutes ago. Anyway, here we go. Welcome. Corum's here. A girl does art. Call me skeptical. Can't wait to see what is revealed. That is the interesting thing. I didn't want to bring it up quite yet, but I guess since he addressed it already. This is the first segment of who's this guy. That'll actually be who's this gal, but I didn't change the intro, so kind of funny. But no, I would not bring art to the table that was not worthy of your viewership. So, and it's an interesting tale. So anyway, Repairman Jack is here. Repairman Jack says, it took me so long to fix my name using my phone, it made me feel old as dirt. And you're twice as young as me, because that kind of stuff but I noticed everybody's like taking their numbers off their name that YouTube was assigning us and trying to figure all this out. So it feels like a family reunion. Everybody's name is back the way it should be. Mark Pengren is here. Creative Faye says, happy Sunday, Aaron. Hope you're having a good day. I am, because, well, I'll tell you guys in a minute, but I'll wait till we get there. I don't want to get ahead of myself. I'm very structured and orderly. And always remember, obey Fu Manchu or every living thing will die. Pantheon is here. Henry Jeremick. Now this is, okay, here he goes. Aaron, some of my rights and faves: Secrets of Haunted House 5, House of Mystery 204 and 236, Swamp Thing 10, DC Special Series 2 and 14. Of course, those are wraparound covers. 2 is Swamp Thing. Is 14 Swamp Thing 2? Is that the one with the, I don't know. It's not the Patchwork Man one, is it? It's not on my list, I can tell you that. That's why I'm questioning. Some of those will be, though. Pastmaster Dan, hitting the thumbs up is never easy, but necessary. We appreciate your understanding. Thank you for that public service announcement. I appreciate that. Randy Howell, all the way from Canada. Has Aaron found Bigfoot yet? No, I was just listening to, as I was working today. Yes, I'm a 7 days a week worker, usually. I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast where he was basically, he's not a Bigfoot believer at all. Very skeptical, very much like myself. And so he had some very interesting takes that I thought were funny, but it's, it's a little early for that. So we'll get to that eventually. Sequential Artist is here. Says, greeting Aaron's in chat. Excited to see more Wrightson and Aaron's analysis. Oh, I analyze everything. Randy Howell is pointing out that we're just $66 away from 81K on Wraith of God Fear Hollow. And we'll get into that too. You guys are just like, you've like planned the show out for me, and you're all right. I'm covering all this stuff. Leg Kick is here because Leg Kick is almost always here. Stealth X5 is joining us, saying you. There's Iodine 74. Matthew Muma is joining us. Spaceman is here. Michelle Bowers. Hopefully her sword is sheathed. Eric M. Boyd is joining us. Best Age Comics. Corey Landis. It always threw me with Corey's. It's this avatar. That long hair. I thought, is that a chick or a dude? And that's like some anime thing, right? So I don't know if that's a chick or a dude in your little icon there. So always confuses me. But that's fine. I mean, I'm easily confused as well. And Dino Palazzo says, no guest, no talent, no show, Lopresti. That should be the motto of this show. No guest, no talent, no show, Lopresti. Okay, first of all, no guest. We've all established that I'm lazy. Okay, that is established in terms of YouTube lazy, of like booking a show. And I mean, yeah. And then secondly, no talent. I don't even have to address that. I am a monumental talent. Now, if you're saying that I'm not bringing any talent on, that would be true. But see, when I do Graybeard Studio, my Wednesday draw stream, for those of you who don't know, you should check it out. I'm cat wrangling. Okay. I'm dealing with people. We have three regulars on the show, or part of the show. And then, occasionally a guest. And you think I want to wrangle on this show? This is my Sunday relax show. And I put anywhere from an hour to 3 hours prep time into this show. So I think Andino needs to appreciate me a little bit more. And then he's saying no show, Lopresti, basically meaning because I was late by 2 minutes today because I was cat wrangling graybeards. Okay. So I think a little more respect would be in order. Let's see who else is here. Stealth for 2. Thank you. He says hello, and we appreciate that. Stealth's always good for a $2 hello, and we greatly appreciate it. In fact, we've come to count on it. Marcus Killigrew, purveyor of all things pop culture knowledge, is joining us. Jay Dredd is here. Marilith, 2005. I wanted to make sure I was actually saying that correctly. Is here. Headless Bourgeoisie says at least it's an attractive woman about to be eaten by a shark. True. I don't think a shark really differentiates, though. I think a meal is a meal. Bub66 says, hail, Senor Lopez in chat. What else we got here? There's Ms. Stepling says, if you have Disney Plus, they have National Geographic Shark Fest. We don't have Disney. Actually, maybe we do now. Because we just got like Hulu. And doesn't Hulu have stuff attached to it? Like Disney? I don't know. We used to have it, then we didn't have it. And, Shark Week isn't the same as it used to be. It always used to be like great whites. And now they just mix it up. And it's like, I don't care about tiger sharks, even though tiger sharks are more deadly than great whites. They're just not as big and as cool. I want giant, monstrous things. That's what I want to see. Headless Bourgeoisie says, I never once thought Aaron seems prepared. Good. Because I never am. Let's see here. Corey Landis says, the numbers come and go. It was back on my name last night. Okay, so I don't even understand. William Noblin. Hello, Aaron and Chad. Is it Noblin or Noblin? William, I had a brief message exchange with because he wanted to get Wraith of God 1 and 2. And I said, William, I can ship these to you right now. He's like, no. Add them onto my order. So apparently he wants to read 1, 2, and 3 just like all together. So and that's fine. There's Ella. Hey, Mr. I. Hey, Mr. comma, I and L. Okay, so it's a little L. I gotcha. Hey, Mr. L. And happy National Franks and Beans Day to all who celebrate. Is it Franks and Beans Day? I guess that's what I'm doing for dinner. Thank you, Ella, for joining us. Of course, Ella is a good friend of my daughter. And we're glad to have her in the chat. So there you go. It's an educational show. And so we bring in college students all the time. John Porton is here. He says, Bigfoot is out there. I don't know if I agree. Henry Jeremick says, I don't care what you do. As long as you keep doing comic book covers based on the artist. I'm not just saying that because it was my idea. But it is a great idea. It was his idea. Because we went through, if you remember, we went through the decades, we went through the 60s, 70s, and like the best covers of those decades. And he's like, hey, why don't you just dedicate each week to a single artist and go over their covers, which I thought was a pretty good idea. And that's why I'm using it. If I generated any income, I'd pay you royalties for your suggestion. But since I don't, it's just you being kind and giving me an idea that I'm now stealing. John Porton says aliens be real. I don't know about that either. That's another topic, but I'm also extremely skeptical of that. I mean, I'm not going to get into it at the moment other than just to say there's no way aliens could get from wherever they're at to here. It's like so many, gazillion light years. It's just impossible. And I know the whole wormhole thing, but you know what the wormhole is? That's speculation. It's theory. It's not a proven anything. So there you go. That's my problem with aliens. Kellraiser's here. He's a monster. Iodine 74 says, no guest, no talent, no host show. Sounds like a Seinfeld thing. It kind of is. I was a big Seinfeld fan. That was must-see TV back Thursday nights. And maybe it's rubbed off on me. I don't know. 10-8 Comics says, I'm here, but going to watch from the Roku on the big screen as foretold by Fu Manchu. Sayonara. Okay. I don't know if I should be flattered or if I should be frightened for you, me on the big screen, but I fully support it. I've had other people tell me that, oh yeah, I watched you on our big screen TV. I'm like, I better pull back a little bit. Okay, GJ Martinez is here. He, of course, makes his home in the great state of Texas. Oh, no, wait a minute. I was talking to Andino says I was in Jim Lee's chat earlier. He loves my comments. I'm like, Aaron, are you the guy that was ripping on Superman? And one of my inside sources was also in that chat and told me about this not too long ago. That someone in the chat was going after Jim Lee about Superman, you know, and all this woke crap. And when are you going to get this garbage out of the? Was that you, Andino? Because I believe you would do something like that. William Noblin says, you got it right the first time, Goblin with an N. Okay. I like that. Goblin. Apex Comics is here. 50 years of Jaws still holds up today. Man, does it ever. Still my favorite movie. It'll always be my favorite movie. You can't get to be 61 years old and then go, you know what, I've got a new favorite movie. No. Mark Pengren says aliens would have advanced psychology. I think do you mean psychology or technology that we can't even comprehend yet? Why? See, why? Why would they be more advanced than us if there is an alien species out there right now? Obviously, if they traveled here, they would have to be more advanced than we are. But I don't necessarily even buy that. I mean, why would they have to be more advanced? What if they're less advanced than we are? What if there's a planet of cavemen out there? Just because you're more advanced doesn't mean you can break the laws of physics. Okay. See, I'm very cynical, very cynical. Blue Neptune is here. He says, there are no wormholes. Okay. I wouldn't know if there is or not. I know people talk about there is, but I don't know. GJ Martinez, he's not agreeing with me. He says aliens are real. Well, are we talking about illegal aliens? Or are we talking about, you know, I actually did a joke about that in Power Cubed where, well, if you haven't read it, I don't want to ruin it, but basically someone says I'm an alien and the kid responds, what do you mean? Like from Canada? So, but anyway, he's a monster for $4.99. He's just giving me $4.99 out of the kindness of his heart. He has really nothing to say and I appreciate it. Thank you. Mark, big alien guy, apparently says the truth is out there. You know, I love the X-Files. That was such a great show. I mean, that was like way up here in terms of quality, especially for the type of show it was. Really good stuff. Okay. I made GJ Martinez spit his coffee out, and that's what I'm here for. As long as it didn't get on your computer. All righty. I don't know what skeleton. I don't know what you're talking about. One or two of the liquidy moons around either Jupiter or Saturn. Are we saying that's a wormhole? Eric and Boyd says, I went to visit the planet of prehistoric women with Mamie Van Doren. Yeah, you know, there was some good old-fashioned sci-fi movies, weren't they? Raquel Welch is a cave woman. Come on. All righty. So, you know, StreamYard, they're really pissing me off. They're super expensive, right? And they keep changing their formatting. So it's like, I come in here and I'm like, I'm seeing a bunch of stuff I've never seen before. And I'm like, what the? Kind of annoying. But anyway, I'll find my way through it. So you'll have to forgive me here as things are not where I left them. And so now I have to re-find. Oh, there we go.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
When I play that, you know I've been to Trader Joe's recently, and sure enough, we scored dark chocolate cherries once again because it really feels like they're healthy. There's fruit in here and dark chocolate, which we all know is incredibly good for you. It doesn't have the calorie information, so I know it must be good for me. Oh, here we go. If I eat 6 of those cherries, it's 130 calories. That doesn't seem bad. So I have 6 of them a day, which that sounds about right. I'm 130 calories. That's not bad at all. I'm feeling even better about myself. Now, if I just had an all-natural Snapple to drink with it, it'd be like a total home run. All right. Let's take a look at our Frazetta for the day. It seems like the next logical step to take in this show. That is plate 5 of 6 of the Frazetta portfolio, the Lord of the Rings portfolio, and that's my favorite, probably my favorite piece in there. The energy that I guess that's a ring wraith that's got the big mace over his head, and he's about to kill the girl, who of course we know kills him. But it's just, I love that piece. Got a lot of energy in it and a lot of motion, and although I'm not convinced that the girl's outfit is the most appropriate thing you'd wear into battle, but I'm not going to complain. It's a very, very nice drawing. Now, John Porton says, I still believe in you, Lopez, which I assume he means because I don't believe in aliens, but he still believes in me. So are you saying, John, that you're an alien? That's kind of the inference here, I think. I'll have to look a little closer into that. Well, she isn't, because she kills the ring wraith, right? I mean, I'll be honest. I've never read the book. It was just too thick. Scared me away, but I've seen the movies, so I assume that's, fairly correct interpretation of what was in the book. Big Melons, John Melons is in the chat. What's going on here? Melons breast. Oh, there we go. John Mellon, does Aaron love the Superman movie or really love the Superman movie? I have not seen it yet, John, and I'm hearing different things from different people. So I am going to go see it, and then I will have to do a review on it. But I don't like waiting in lines, so I'm like till the fervor dies down, and then I'll just kind of go in and check it out. But well, we'll see. All righty. One thing I like to do, or would like to do on this show, is actually have a sponsor. The only sponsor I can get is me. So let's take a look at Wraith of God 3, shall we? I just finished, and I mean just like minutes before I came on, finished page 50. There's 64 pages in this graphic novel. I just finished inking page 50. I got 10 more pages now that need to go out to the colorist, Jason Wright. So we've got 14 pages left, and that is it. And we are done. And so very excited as we're getting very close. And I'm right. You're right in the best part of the story, right? At least to draw, because it's like, it's the big climactic scene and all the stuff going on. I almost told you what was going on, which I probably shouldn't do, because you probably would like to read it without any spoilers. So anyway, look at this, man. We are $66 away from 81K. So I would encourage anybody. I would encourage all of you to get in there and back this if you haven't already. The Wraith and Esther, they go up against the Headless Horseman and a witch. So there's like a Headless Horseman and there's a witch. So it's like, and there's a secret villain that's sort of pulling the strings behind the scene. And it's just deep, man. The depth's incredible. You've got 4 cover options. They're also good. If it was me, I'd get them all. Now, a lot of people have come up to me and said, well, why isn't there a perk on here that features Wraith of God 3 plus the back issues? I'd get that. And I say, well, the back issues are available. All you have to do is choose a perk. And then when you go to checkout, you have the option of adding on issues 1 or 2. So they are part of the campaign. They're not in a perk, because I want to do this more buffet style. So you can go and choose your meal. And if I did a perk that had issues 1 and 2, let's say you had Blood Hunters, but you didn't have the first one, then I'd be forcing you to buy both issues. And I'm not that kind of guy. I leave it up to you, but it is there. The option is there that you can get both. So here's some nice colors by Jason Wright. And I know you guys are like, oh, show me more pages. And I'm like, nah, I'm not going to. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to ruin it for you. You're just going to have to wait. But we've hit some stretch goals. And as I've said numerous times before, this value stamp goes in the book. That's one of the stretch goals. It's flatted, but it's not finished colored, so I haven't been able to put the colored up yet. Also, there's a sculpture trading card, which is flatted, but isn't finished colored, so I haven't put it up yet. And then, of course, there's now the new stretch goal we just hit, which is the trunk trading card, which is the big giant elephant guy from the nightclub, which perhaps you read about in Wraith of God 2. And if you didn't read it, that means you don't have Wraith of God 2, which means you should get it. And but anyway, and you can also get this great Wraith Nouveau print, limited to 500 signed and numbered copies. You can also get Wraith of God Roughs Volume 3. This is 48 pages of layouts to the graphic novel. So you can kind of pull back the curtain, if you will, and take a look at the making of the graphic novel, which is kind of fun. If you collect shot glasses or you're a heavy drinker, maybe a shot glass might be something that you would consider doing. This campaign shot glass is the Nightclub. We have a series of shot glasses. This is number 4 in a series of 6. And these are all laser etched on the glass, so they don't wash off. And we've done the Wraith, we've done Garbage Man, we've done Kit Carter, and now we're doing the Nightclub. So make sure you have your entire collection of shot glasses. You can get these poker chips where you can help me exploit Dale Keown's werewolf right here. Also, there's the Wraith and Esther. So you have 3 poker chips commemorative set. These are the big heavy clay ones. Very nice. And here you go. Proof is in the pudding, folks. Wraith of God 1, Wraith of God 2. Yes, they are available on the campaign as an add-on. So we are getting close to being done with this book. So get in there and back right now. It is, some people say, the best graphic novel series out right now. I'm just repeating what I hear. So you don't want to miss this. And if you like kind of genre, superhero, monster, Western, I mean, if you dig any of those or all of those, it's all in here. And there's a great relationship thing going on between the Wraith and Esther. It's good stuff there. It's kind of those things, it's that vibe you used to get when you bought monthly comics and you're like, yeah, Spider-Man fights Green Goblin, but what's going on with Mary Jane? Or what's going on with Gwen Stacy? That's going on in this book too. So if you like the excitement of monster hunting, but you also got to have your little soap opera romance or potential romance, it's all right here for you. So don't miss out. And so you'll find a link in the description of this video that will take you right to this campaign, and you can back it. Let me also point out that I do have a website, and on this website, we have lots of cool stuff. And if you missed out on any of the comics or the books, you can get them right here. Wraith of God 1, Wraith of God 2, Wraith of God 2 Vampire cover, or the Tomb of Dracula cover. If you want to read the Garbage Man trade paperback, here it is. Kit Carter, I still have some signed and numbered limited edition hardcovers left. I didn't think I did, but I actually do. I've got plenty of paperbacks of Kit Carter. We got Power Cubed still available. A couple issues of the Bisley cover for Wraith of God 2, Blood Hunters. Saved from the Trash sketchbook, the Tales of Suspense cover, all this good stuff. Kit Carter sketchbook, Kit Carter ash can. I have a couple of those left. They're going to San Diego with me. Comic price guides I did the cover for. I mean, just all sorts of good stuff on here. And I want to point out one other thing. There's original art on here, but there's also prints you can get. Wraith of God print, the Freya of the Ice Kingdom. Look, she killed a Yeti. That's so me. A Garbage Man print, Kit Carter prints, and look at this. It's our new one. This will be out at San Diego, but it's also available right now on this website for your viewing and collecting enjoyment. Yeah, it's John Carter of Mars, but I can't really say that, so we're just calling him Mars. And it is limited edition, signed and numbered, 100 copies, and that's it. So anyway, that's the newest edition. And I put up more art. So the Donkey Kong sketch is up there. The Vision, which I just finished from last week's Graybeard. Popeye, Super Scroll, Wolverine headshot, Dale and Ming the Merciless is on here. Just tons of sketches, 3 pages of sketches. A lot of these are Graybeards, a lot of them aren't. But a lot of original art on there, plus some original pages. I'll get the pages updated after San Diego when I see what I've got left. But anyway, if you need something Lopresti that you don't have, you go to my website and you'll find it right there. So there you are. That is your commercial break for today. Now on the rest of the show. What do I got here? Oh, so now we're going to take a look at an artist who is the first female artist that I've profiled on this show. And so let's take a look at who's this guy when it's not even a guy. I dig that jazzy beat. All right, so here's the story. Heather Edwards, she had a booth at San Diego, kind of kitty corner from me. So if I was looking like there across from me, then there was another one, then she was right there. And I saw her work. And a lot of it was Disney art gallery type stuff. And so I went over, and this was probably 7 or 8 years ago. I went up to her and chatted her up and got the lowdown on working for Disney and how that it's not really profitable, but it really helps your resume, you know? So you don't necessarily make that much money doing something for Disney, but, you know, you can say, hey, I'm the Disney artist, which brings people over, and then you can sell them other things that you can actually make money on. So anyway, so a lot of her stuff is Disney fine arts. And I'm not here to promote Disney, but, you know, good art is good art. So let's take a look at, I actually picked this print up from her several years ago at San Diego. So I have it signed by her, but this is, she has very more of a classical technique in her paintings. Let's see what, I got a little bit of bio info on her. Let's see what this says. Heather Edwards shared and collected around her artwork. Oh, let me try that again. Shared and collected around the world, Heather Edwards' paintings are constructed in the midst of a bustling family with 5 children. Woo! Okay, but listen to this, which I did not know. Amidst a bustling family with 5 children near Portland, Oregon. She could be my freaking neighbor and I don't even know it. If she lived close by, man, I would go over there and go, okay, can I watch you paint? Like a weirdo. I mean, it would just be like, I've had people ask me that, can I come over and watch you draw? And I'm like, no. But if another artist wanted to do it to kind of discuss technique and that kind of thing, I'd be cool with that. But, so anyway, I don't know. They'd probably be weird of me to like track her down and go, hey, can I come over and watch you draw? So, but anyway, I just was like, whoa, she might live in the same neighborhood that I live in. I don't even know. Let's see. Regardless of the challenges, her art has gone on to get the attention of USA Today and LA Times. She's garnered contracts with Disney Fine Arts and FantasyCon and received international recognition and awards from respected organizations such as Luca Comics and Games. I don't know what that is. That's probably like Italian or something, right? Art Renewal Center, never heard of it. Artist Magazine, heard it, and Spectrum, of course. Heather takes a bold approach to the reworking of Disney characters. Her process in painting is constantly morphing as she applies new techniques, but most often consists of multitude of layers of paint and glazes, as many as 20 or so in some cases, to get that desired depth and detail that dominates her work. That is a classical approach to painting, which we've talked about briefly on this show before, which is scumble up, glaze down, scumble up, glaze down. So basically what you do is you take your white paint, which is usually a quick dry white. And I'm not saying this is exactly what she does, but this is one way to do it, what they're describing. And it's the old master's way, where you fill in white and then you take your color and glaze over the top of that white, okay, which knocks it down. And then you put in another white and you glaze over the top of that. You put in more white and you glaze over the top of that. And so you're creating these really deep highlights and tones, especially on flesh, works really, really nicely. But it's a very tedious and long process. But it does look really, really cool. And I'm sure she's probably employing some of that in her technique. But I haven't really, I discussed more business stuff with her than I actually did her art technique when I did talk to her. Look at this Snow White. How cool this is. Iodine 74 says, hey, Aaron, I finally backed. Wraith of God 3. You are now over 81K. Thank you, Iodine 74. Woohoo! Appreciate it very much. Artists should be financially respected. Yeah, they should be, but it's that old thing. It's like me going to San Diego, right? It cost me a fortune. I was just talking to Billy on the phone, Billy Tucci, about this. And it cost him almost twice as much as it cost me to go, because he brings more people and I think he has a double booth. I just have this corner booth, but it's like a booth and a half. So it's still expensive, but, and then flying everybody out and hotel and food and everything. But it's just for the privilege of going to San Diego, right? To say I was there, and they're not paying my way. They're, and they're the richest convention, I'm sure, in the world. But they bring out some guests, but it's not like like I just did Washington State SummerCon, where I drove up, but they paid for my hotel. They provided my food during the day. It gave me a free space, all that kind of stuff. No. And Disney's the same way. They have the money, but it's like when I was in film school and I got out of film school and I was looking for a production assistant job just to get on a film anywhere so you could break in, right? They paid $250 a week. And this is in Los Angeles. And even back in 1988, I couldn't live off that. I was like, $250 a week. That's $1,000 a month before taxes. I was like, I can't live on that. So I had to actually take real jobs, while I was out looking for film jobs. But they were like, if you don't want it, there's 100 other people that do. And I'm sure Disney's the same way. Everybody, there's all these artists out there that want to be associated with this. And so they don't get great deals on it. But anyway, she's, as you can see, just fabulous artist. Fabulous. She doesn't do just Disney stuff, but we're going to take a look at her Disney stuff because that's mostly her Disney stuff. This is an Alice in Wonderland piece. And a lot of these paintings are really big. I mean, the originals. So just the amount of time put into this is remarkable. And she's super nice, super sweet lady, way younger than me. If she was my age, she'd probably be grumpy. But this Lilo and Stitch is cute. Again, nice composition. There's like nice little lighting here by the window. It's very weird because it'd be like, it's almost like a fine arts piece where, you might just be an illustration of a young girl. And yet then you got like Stitch down there and it's just like, it goes from, the top half of it to being this super realistic thing. Then you go down here and it becomes this fantasy piece. So it's just a nice combination. I actually bought this print too. Now Ethan would appreciate this, I think. The Incredible Mr. Toad. It was the closest thing she had to be like a monster. So, but a nice, really, and the fact that this isn't digital, this is like, she actually paints. I have a huge respect for her for that as well. Look at this piece. This one, I think I saw it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is a huge piece. The dragon's really cool. Look at the folds and the wrinkles in her clothes, almost Line Decker-esque. Wouldn't you say? And I always love, painters who really understand color and know what they're doing. Look at how close this underbelly skin tone of the dragon is to the wings, is to her flesh tone. And you're still getting that nice separation. Just really nice. Because she goes back in here, as you can see, and knocks this back. A little bit of this steel blue kind of gray lighting here. She works that gray in to the neck of this dragon, which knocks it back so that the girl's head doesn't get lost in the neck of the dragon. Very nice. This kind of reminds me of my dog. Lady and the Tramp. I'm going to make spaghetti and meatballs for dinner tonight because it's easy and I haven't really planned anything. Pity Maw, yeah, but I'm not offering them before San Diego. So I'll have my leftovers from San Diego, which is the Graybeard Sketchbook Ashcan edition is going to be at San Diego. But I will have some left over. I guarantee it. But I will put those up on the website. And of course, the John Carter of Mars print is going to technically debut at San Diego, even though it's already on my website. So I love how soft the background is, almost like it's foggy or something. So that we got our focus here in the foreground. You still have these nice background elements that help tell the story, but they're not overpowering the image in the foreground. Oh, it's Baby Yoda. Whatever happened to Baby Yoda? Is he still around? I assume they didn't kill him off. Nice little, this rim light up here on his head and ears. You can see the glow coming in through this ear. These are just like little like touches. There's highlight there on his hand. You know, you can see the highlights here on his clothes, but over here it's more shadowed. Which is well thought out lighting in this piece. And I wanted to include this just to show a little bit. She does wildlife as well. She is a fine artist. She doesn't just do Disney stuff. Look at that tiger. Look at that water splash. Super nice. And I really think this is the difference between, if you look at Western artists or wildlife artists, some of them are very boring and presentational, right? Oh, here's a tiger. Here's a guy on a horse. But it's the artists that like give us something a little bit more interesting to look at, maybe a different angle, or like this tiger, the way that the composition of this, where we're getting sort of a close up, he's in motion. It's not typical of what you would see from a wildlife artist, which is, you know, which makes this a very, very successful piece. And I would guess probably a really sought after piece if you're into, you know, wildlife stuff. And of course, I never met a female artist in my entire life at any age who didn't love painting horses or drawing horses. And here you go. What I love about this is that blue. I mean, it's a great drawing, obviously, but that blue kicker light, I guess we'd call it. So you've got and look at the stylized sort of tail hair here. And so you've got this hot highlight coming in, like the sun coming down, and then this blue in the shadows, but it's only right to here. Then you've got a kicker light under here from basically the ground where you're getting this sort of lighting under there. It's really, really interesting and really caught my eye. Just the color scheme. So yeah, I was kind of jealous when I was talking to her. I'm like, oh yeah, I have a booth right over there. I'm a comic book artist, and she's got all these wonderful paintings. And I was just like, slip my wrists. But like I said, super nice. Really interesting to talk to, and apparently lives outside of Portland, which I do. So I don't know which side of outside of Portland she lives on. So, but wouldn't it be funny if she just lived right down the street? Anyway, so that's Heather Edwards. You can search her on Google, find her artwork, find prints. If you're into Disney, she does a lot of very cool stuff, obviously. So there you go. That is our first profile on a female artist on Who's This Guy. All right. Well, a lot of you are always asking the question, what did Aaron buy? What did he get at the comic book show? Or what did he find on eBay? It's always it's that never-ending question of what did Aaron buy now? Now, last week, if you remember, I had just purchased the Neil Adams Avengers issue number 95. And we discovered that John Buscema actually did the cover for it, which surprised the heck out of me. And Neil, of course, did the inside. And I had a nice 9.2 copy. Well, I found something else that I have literally been looking for forever, probably 20 years. And it's never been a priority because there's nothing special about it other than it's part of a title that I collect and it has a cover that I really, really like. And usually what I'll do is I'm not a guy that Spider-Man was the only one I ever did this for, where I collected every single issue regardless. But every other series that I collect, like Avengers or Captain America or Thor or Submariner or whatever, I only get the ones that I like the covers on. Or if it's a special first issue, or a first appearance or something like that, then I'll grab it. But otherwise, if I don't like the cover, I don't buy the book. So I don't have complete runs of these series. I just have ones that I like the covers on for the most part. And this fits into this. I'm trying to get every issue of this character, but there are several that have covers that I really, really like. And this was one of them. So let's take a look. Oop, there we go. Journey into Mystery 123. This is Kirby, inked by, sadly, Vince Colletta. But I didn't mind Colletta on Kirby. It's Thor. When he did Thor, for some reason it worked for me. But I love that Thor is kind of like ripping through this wall. And now this is a really nice copy. Okay, this is 9.2 with white pages. From 1965. This is, then that puts this, 60 years old? Is that right? If my math is right? Yeah. It's a 60-year-old book. 9.2 with white pages. Pretty remarkable. Okay, so why has it taken me so long to get this book? Well, I'll tell you. This book is worth about $325. Okay. And it hasn't really gone up in price a ton. And it doesn't come down. It's pretty much maxed out. You might see some gain over the next 10 years. Maybe it's a $350, $375 book, but it's not something that's all of a sudden going to explode. So it's pretty much maxed out. And yet, whenever you see a graded copy of this book, again, it is 60 years old. It's 1965. It's before Thor got his own title. It's Journey into Mystery, right? Still. So it is an older book. So people are always overcharging. They want $450, $500, things like that for a book that's worth $3.25. So I'm not going to overpay for it. The problem is, even if you pay $3.25 for it, you're not really gaining anything from a investment standpoint, which you guys all know that that's part of the key element with me, is the investment potential. So it's like, yeah, I could have got this book, but I probably would have had to pay a little bit more than it was worth, or pay exactly what it was worth. And because it's not an investment book in the sense that, in 10 years from now, this is going to be worth $600 to $700. It always kept getting knocked down on my list. Well, this thing came up on Comic Link auctions. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to bid on it and see what happens. I usually don't tell you guys what I spent on a book, but I'm going to tell you what I got this for. I got this for $187. It's just one of those auctions that happened to people slept on or maybe didn't know about. And I got an incredibly great deal on this book. So now, me paying a little more than half of what it's worth, suddenly it is an investment book because I'm money ahead in it. 10 years from now, if it's still worth $3.25, I could sell it. I could at least make a little bit of money on it if I had to flip it. So that always makes you feel good, even though my intention is never to sell my books because I love them too much. But you never know. You might have to. So anyway, I got a tremendous deal on this book. And like I said, I've been meaning to buy it for probably 20 years. And I've, to those who wait, that's right. And I was patient and finally got it at a great price. So anyway, Look at this wonderful 60-year-old book with white pages, 9.2. Great Kirby stuff. So anyway, that, when I see a deal like that, got to take it. So there you go. Other people spend their money on clothes and food. Not this guy. I'll wear this t-shirt till it disintegrates if I can get more of these. So there you go. That's what I bought this past week. And with San Diego only roughly 10 days away, there's more deals in my future. I can feel it. Dumbest Name says, I'm not ashamed of buying slab books. I take a lot of crap for buying slab books, but you got to understand. You've got to understand where I'm coming from. If you're going to put that much money into a book, and when I say money, I mean anything, over a couple $100, you don't want to buy something that you're spending that much money on, especially you get up to $500, $600, $1,000, $1,500, and have it misgraded, and then suddenly it's like buying a car brand new and it loses value as soon as you drive it off the lot. There's safety in a slabbed book because then you have this agreed upon grade that no one's going to argue. So that's a 9.2 forever, as long as it's in that case. So it protects your investment. If you're just buying beat up comics so you can read them, that's fine. That's fine. I totally support that, but I'm not. I do like to read them, but I also like to collect them from an investment standpoint. And that makes me, I think, a genius. I'm playing 4-level chess. So, let's see here. Creative Faith agrees, says, I also spend my money on books. See, there you go. Well, white pages is just nicer than, cream pages or off-white pages or whatever. It's, from a collector's standpoint, it's more pristine, so therefore more desirable. So to get a book like that with white pages for the price I got it was a significant deal. How do we know inside without testing? Well, we trust, of course, that, CGC would not have, if there was anything wrong with it or missing or pages ripped out, or they would have found it and it would have been noted on the label. So we, and then I've got essentials. I've got some older issues, a lot of the stuff that are beat up that I can read, or I can go through the reprints. And so, but it becomes a commodity. Did you guys ever see the Accountant, where he's like this autistic assassin or whatever? And in one scene, he's like packing up his hardware to go kill somebody, going whatever. And Ben Affleck plays the accountant. In the background, behind him, sitting on a table, is an Action Comics #1, slabbed, by the way. So what are we to gather from that? We're to gather from that he accepted that book as payment for a job. And, like a 9.0 Action Comics #1, First Appearance of Superman, that's a $6 million book now. So, yeah, it's like Bitcoin, except you can hang on to it. It has groovy art on it. So there you go. Some guy I know, his wife was asking me, saying, I don't get it. Well, if you can't read them, what good is it? And I said, imagine if you were a stamp collector. You're collecting stamps generally for the art on the stamp or the design on the stamp. I said, so just imagine me, this is a giant stamp for me. And that's how I looked at it. Not that I don't like to read them or don't enjoy the stories. Obviously I do. But when you're buying for investment, people, use your head. That's all I'm saying. Oh, look at that. William Noblin says he lived in Portland from 98 to 04, mainly garden home and a little while in Beaverton. I lived in garden home. That was a place I first had my very first apartment back in the late 80s, early 90s, when I was working in commercial art, still trying to break into comics. In fact, that's where Shelley and I lived when we first got married, was in the garden home area. So how about that? Small world it is indeed. Spambot. So Aaron's planning to hire hitmen in the future. Well, I'm just saying, you know, currency can take many shapes. Andino Palazzo says, I used to collect stamps in the 90s when I was a teen and a virgin. Well, we know one of those is, you know, you're no longer a teen. We know that. Randy Howell says, refresh your campaign, Aaron. Okay, Randy. Let's take a look at what's happening with Wraith of God, even as we speak. Okay. What's going on here? Why can't we see the... Oh, I see. Got to do that. Okay. Drum roll, please. Let's see what happens here. Whoa! Thank you guys very much. We picked up a few more backers there. We're now at 81,143. Fantastic, folks. That's wonderful. Obviously, I'm going to be making a big push on this as we get closer to being done. Sending out, you know, update blasts and all that kind of stuff. So tell your friends and family. It's not going to be long before this campaign is closed. Got probably about another month or so. So let's keep pushing. And no, I'm not going to tell you yet. I know what I'm going to do next. I'm getting all my ducks in a row right now. Obviously, I'll announce it when I put up the sign-up page, but not before then. Not before then. You just have to wait and see, but it's going to be cool. So there you go. I'll just I'll leave you with that. All right. So I guess it's now time, because Aaron appreciates art, and I do. It's time to share some more art, but this time we're going to take a look at some of my stuff, which I was going to put it on right after Heather Edwards' artwork, but I thought, God, that might make me look bad. So we thought we'd throw in a comic book in between the art before we did this. Pity Ma asked me about stuff for San Diego. And like I said, I've got some printed material. Basically what I'm going to bring, I got some Kit Carter t-shirts. I'll be bringing those. Kit Carter soft covers and hard covers, Wraith of God 1 and 2, plus the ash can and the prints, and original art, of course. And the original art is the thing, right? So I've got 3 pieces that I'm working on at the moment that I'd like to get finished before San Diego. We'll see if I actually pull it off. This was just a drawing of a chick I did, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it. I think I'm going to turn it into Ms. Marvel, like the Ms. Marvel I used to draw when I was on the series. So you can see it's pretty much there. I just got to fill in the costume and then ink this thing. But there you go. So that's one thing I'm working on right now. It's 11 by 14. Of course, it'll be up for sale. And of course, I'm trying the best I can to keep the website updated with artwork, new artwork, and new listings. I haven't done a great job on my pages, but I will. Like, I've got to list Kit Carter pages, and I'm going to put some Wraith of God pages up and things like that, as well as some of my older stuff. But there you go. Headless Bourgeoisie says she's naked. She's naked until I put clothes on her. That is true. So I'm working on that. And then I got a couple other pieces here. I was just messing around with this the other night. And I was like, that's a fairly decent Conan. So I'm going to finish this. I don't know if I'm going to just ink it, or I think I'm going to watercolor it too. We'll see. I might ink it and then watercolor it just for fun. So anyway, we'll do that because of Conan's always fun. People seem to like Conan, so I thought the face turned out pretty well. So, and then I don't know if I showed this or not. I might have showed it on Graybeards. I don't know if I showed it on this show. I wanted to get this thing colored too, but it's like I've got, like I said, I got 10 days. Like, how much of this stuff can I actually get done? We shall see. Boom. So you'll notice this is the male Silver Surfer in there. But I'd like to get this thing done. I don't think I'll get it colored, but I'll do it black and white. And if I, sell it at San Diego as a black and white piece, then that's fine. If I don't, when I get it home, maybe I'll color it. Corum says, yeah, you should paint them as marble to show that Heather how it's done. Yeah. I can teach her a thing or two. But anyway, those are what's lurking in my flat file right now, begging me to finish them up. So we shall do my best to get those things done. But with Wraith of God 3, as I mentioned earlier, I just finished page 50. So I had a great week this last week. I got 3 pages pencil and inked last week, which is normally doesn't happen. And so I'm going to try and buckle down this next week here. This is the last week I have, full week before San Diego. Then I got 2 more. Then I leave Tuesday of the following week for San Diego. So if I could get, I'm trying to think, is it possible? Could I possibly get 4 more pages done so that when I go to San Diego, I've only got 10 pages left? Because that would ensure that I get the book done by the end of August. And so we would be getting it to the printer like probably the first week of September. And then I could launch the new, I don't want to launch the next campaign too far into the fall. So my goal would be to launch the next campaign on 1st of October. Would be like the latest I'd want to do it. So I have to have it ready by then. So, which means I may or may not have Wraith of God 3 back from the printer, but at least it'll be at the printers at the very worst. And then hopefully back, and I could be shipping it out while we launch the next campaign, which I will talk about in due time as soon as I get the rest of my ducks in a row. So Spaceman says, Aaron, how is Shelly doing? I miss her on the stream. She's the coolest. She is very cool. Shelly, as you guys know, is a chronic pain sufferer. So she has had multiple back surgeries, neck issues that cause her headaches, and she has lower back problems, lower back pain. So with Shelly, it's always sort of managing her sleep patterns and managing her pain, and how she feels better some days and not so great other days. And so that's our goal, to get her back on the show. But everything has to sort of align correctly where she's feeling good and actually got sleep the night before, and then can come on and do some stuff. So it's a process of finding certain things that work and certain things that don't work to help her feel better on a day-to-day basis. So she's had a rough go the last year, but we're hoping to get it a little bit more under control, so she's a little bit more functional. She just planted flowers over the course of this last, week and a half in the backyard and the front yard. So it actually looks like someone lives here again. So that was nice. But I will let her know you guys are asking about her, because I know you always will. Jolly12 says, Aaron, what's the next campaign going to be? I'm not saying yet because I haven't got everything lined up. And all I'll say is there's other people than me involved in it. And so I want to make sure I've got everything figured out before I do it. And so anyway, I will probably, I'm not going to leak it until I'm ready to put up the early sign up page, which will probably be in August sometime. So I'll keep you posted. Just putting a little bait in the water and then reeling it in, just to hang with me. Again, thank you guys for all the Nice comments about Shelley. I will pass it on to her. She greatly appreciates it. All righty. It's about time we got down to some serious art. Not that my art isn't serious, but this is like serious art. Now you'll notice that I spell his name with an I and not an IE. Now Wrightson used to, when he first started, he apparently his name was actually spelled with the E on the end of it, but he dropped the E and went just with the I at the end of Berni, because apparently there was a Olympic diver named Berni Wrightson at the same time, and he didn't want there to be any sort of confusion with this athlete, this diver, and him. So he dropped the E off his name. Now, in the 80s, he brought the E back, right? And it's very interesting because when he was just Berni with an I, he did his best work. And he added the E back on when his work wasn't at the same level that his work in the 70s was. And so, which most people don't get about me is that I'm a huge Wrightson fan. I mean, I'm just an epic proportioned Wrightson fan from 1972 to 1980. That 8-year period. I just think he's incredible. After that, not so much. Before that, yeah. So that is why when I write Berni Wrightson, I always use the I version, because that's the period of time that he did his best work. And that's the time that I focus on. So there you go. Now, some people don't agree with me. I mean, there's a lot of people that aren't as old as I am that experienced Wrightson in the 80s and 90s and, didn't have a, they weren't really exposed to the 70s stuff that I think is far superior to his later stuff. And, but his stuff in his 80s and 90s was still really good. But there's like Frazetta level greatness, which Wrightson was obtaining in the 70s. And then there's like, just good for everybody else. And I like to focus on his way up here stuff. And that's an unfortunate thing, because when you start off at the top of a mountain, you got no place to go but down. And, Frankenstein was the pinnacle. Now, that wasn't comic book art. We always sort of associate that and say, oh, but it wasn't comic book art. It was illustration. And for a book, it was not a comic or a graphic novel. It was illustrations in a novel. And so you can't really compare that to comic book work. But that was sort of his pinnacle, right? And he started working on Frankenstein in 1977, I believe. And it finally got published in Marvel in, was it 81? I think the last drawing he did for Frankenstein was in 1980. And the last great piece of work, I've said this 100 times, and I'll continue to say it, the last great piece of work he did was in Heavy Metal, in the June 1980 issue of Heavy Metal. And that was a Captain Stern story that the Heavy Metal movie, Captain Stern segment was based on that story that he did. And so anyway, we're going to take a look at just comic book covers, his best, or my favorite, maybe let's put it that way, my favorite of his comic book covers. And a lot of them are going to be House of Mystery, House of Secrets, because, well, that's the majority of the work he did was horror stuff. This is a great cover from House of Secrets. That's a bunch of, like, I don't know, weird zombie people trying to force Abel, who is the host of the House of Secrets, into this open grave with these great hands, these veiny hands coming up out of the dirt. The great thing about this, and I'm really frustrated because I could not find a shot of this online, but this is actually a wraparound cover. Now, they didn't print it as a wraparound cover. Okay, the back of this comic has an ad on it or whatever. But the artwork that this cover is taken from was intended to be a wraparound cover. So there's these group of zombies or whatever that are pushing him into the grave right here. Well, this trails back. Imagine there's another, back cover there. And there's a trail of them going up to this haunted house up on a hill. And so it's a double page piece that only got the front page used. But I don't know why I could not find it any place on Googled it, but it is in a look back, the full version of this. But that's so typical in comics, right? You go in there. Now, granted, no one told him. I'm sure nobody told him. I can't remember how the story goes, but I'm sure no one told him, hey, Bernie, do us a wraparound cover. And then they decided they weren't going to use it. I'm sure he decided to do it and went, hey, you can use this as a wraparound cover. And they're like, hey, dummy, we have to put an ad on the back of the book. We can't do this. And it's so typical of comics going, okay, yeah, this is a great piece of artwork, but screw that. We need the ad space. So, they don't use the art to its fullest extent. And, but, again, they're there to make money. We're there to bitch and moan about being, artistes, and they're there to make money. And so often those two things do not go together very well. Now, obviously, he's famous for his Swamp Thing work. This is my favorite Swamp Thing cover. And I think it's the only Swamp Thing I've got on this list. The thing that's great about this for me is this is the closest to a superhero type cover you're going to get from Wrightson. This powerful image coming up out of the swamp. It's got a Dutch angle to it. Oh, this one's even signed by Bernie. Look at that right there. I didn't notice that down at the bottom. Right there. Berni Wrightson. There it is. And again, this is just a fantastic example of how good coloring used to be back in the day when they had just very limited what they could do, basically using flat color. It's a great cover, really dynamic, really powerful. The placement of the blacks here is what creates volume, three-dimensional volume on a two-dimensional surface. I don't know why I don't do more black placement like this, because it always looks better. I just don't do it. I don't know why. Like I should, especially for a guy that's a Wrightson influence. I should be spotting blacks like David Finch does, and I just don't for most of the time. I don't know why. I think I'm too caught up in practical lighting effects. And I think, well, there really wouldn't be a heavy shadow right there because blah, blah, and then I don't do it. And it's just all that's important in comic art, listen closely, is how cool it looks. It doesn't matter if it makes sense or not. As long as it looks cool, that's what your goal should always be. So don't do as I say, don't do as I do. Headless Bourgeoisie says, I don't know. I've seen better swamp covers, much better. Swamp covers, I think he meant. Well, you can say which ones you better or worse, whatever. I just said this is my favorite. So, Wrightson's Batman from whatever issue of Swamp Thing he was in was amazing. It was issue 7, and yes, the interiors on that book were fantastic. I didn't really like the cover that much, though, to be honest with you. But the interiors on that book were fantastic. Speaking of Batman, now you might say, why are you putting this on here? I'll tell you why in a minute. Because it's a box cover, so the image is cropped and everything, but I love the ghoul, whatever you want to call him, zombie ghoul thing that's driving the horse and carriage, the buggy. And the horse is coming right at us. And you look at that horse and you're like, does that even look like a horse? I mean, I don't care. It's a Wrightson horse. But look at this sleeve on this guy and those wrinkles in there and that face. And yeah, you got Batman back here, but this is right here. This is why I love this cover so much. And I know what you're saying. You're saying, Aaron, yeah, it's a cool cover, but do you have a 9.2 slabbed? Yes, I do. And the main reason I would get this slabbed is because the only reason I really want it is for the cover, because Wrightson didn't do the insides. But I again love the design. I just think it's cool, and I like that ghoulish dude driving the wagon or the buggy. All right, now I love this cover, and I can't, when I break it down, it doesn't make sense. Because what do you got here? You got a vampire with like long hippie hair. It's like, why do I like this cover so much? You know why? I just love the dynamics of it. Again, single character really helps you keep your focus on what you're selling. So again, as a newsstand comic, this would stand out. It's not too busy. You've got, this big image of your vampire. I like the billowy cape he has. And you've got this grave right here and these hands coming out, shooting him in the heart from this cross. It's a very interesting concept. And the whole background is black, right? So your vampire is set off by all this black surrounding him, and he just jumps off here. And again, this is back in the 70s when they did those box covers, which I really like for some reason. I just like the design of them. So I have this, but I don't have it in 9.2. And it's weird because some of Wrightson's House of Mystery comics and House of Secret comics, you used to be able to go to a show and they would be in the quarter or 50-cent box, right? Now these things are worth a fortune. Number one, because the print runs weren't great. Number two, people read the crap out of these because these were all anthology books, right? With like two or three horror stories in them. And so, as a kid, you always read those type of things, right? And so there's not a lot of high grade of these, and the print runs were not great. But some of the Wrightson covers are so iconic that they go for way more than some of the other issues. Even Wrightson covers vary incredibly widely on this title, depending on how popular the cover is. This is an expensive cover, and maybe for the reasons I just described. But to get a 9.2 of this I would be anywhere in that, depending on who's selling, at $400 to $600 range. It's like, I don't want to pay that much for this book. I've got a VF of it, so it's, I've got it, but that's sort of, uptight Aaron wants, like, oh, I've got to have a near mint copy, but I'm not paying that much for it. So I'll probably just have to live with my VF copy, which is very nice. All right, now this, along the same lines of what we were just talking about, this cover is a $600 book plus in 9.2, which just drives me nuts. Now, I have a beat up copy in my spinner rack back there of this, just because I wanted to own the cover. You've got this huge decaying corpse head coming up out of the water. And then this guy, in the background, like attacking this woman or whatever. What a killer cover. Just fantastic. And again, this particular issue is worth a ton. Like $200 more than the one we just looked at. And the one we looked at, came out about the same time. So it's like, it's just collectors, like everybody likes this cover. So therefore you can charge more for it, and people do. So I really want this book in a 9.2, but my gosh, I'm not spending $600 on it. So I don't know if I'll ever get it in 9.2, but I do have a beat up copy of it. It's not too bad. It's like a VG. And it's like these stories inside are like, not compared to how great this cover is. That's probably one of my favorite Wrightson covers. All right, now here's one a little bit more obscure that maybe you're not aware of. Now, this is the same thing. I love this cover. You got your werewolves, your Wrightson werewolves. He had a very unique take on werewolves that they ripped off in The Howling. Those are absolutely Wrightson werewolves, and he saw no money for that. At least that's my understanding. Because I asked him about it once at a panel before I broke into comics at San Diego, and he was very unhappy the situation with the Howling, because he was clearly felt he got ripped off and not compensated. But yeah, so they basically ripped off his werewolf designs for that movie. And, you know, you've got your colonial guy back there leaning against a tree with an axe trying to defend himself in the snow. I just think this is a fabulously laid out cover, designed exceptionally well. And so I found this, and I didn't even know about it till I discovered it about 25 years ago or so. And I started looking for it. And guess what? It's super hard to find, because Weird Mystery Tales was sort of a offshoot of House of Secrets and House of Mystery. Those didn't have great print runs. This even had worse print run. And this is the best cover of the entire series. So this is the one everybody wants. So it's Wrightson. It's the best cover of the series, and it's got a low print run. That spells expensive. And so I found one on eBay that was, I don't know, it was okay. It was like a fine condition just because I wanted it. But then I found another one that pretty close to near mint condition, not slabbed. And I paid, and this was like at least 15 years ago, paid $75 for it. And now if you had this slabbed in a 9.2, you'd be looking at several $100s for this book. Again, because it has a really cool cover. So I have 2 copies of this. I love it so much. Here's another book that was worthless for the longest period of time. It is now picking up some steam. As far as I know, this is the only Wrightson drawing of Man-Thing. I could be wrong about that, but I think it is. And this is one I bought ages ago, just because it was a Wrightson cover, because Man-Thing was on it. And then you got the Hulk in there. Look, you got the Collector back there. Strike my slave at the command of the Collector. Need we say more? We need more of that on the covers of comics these days. So this is a great piece, man. You got the Hulk fighting Man-Thing by Berni Wrightson. Does it get any better than this? So this book was worthless for the longest period of time, but now it's picking up steam. I don't know how much it's worth off the top of my head. Why don't we look it up? Hulk 197. Let's see what it is. I bet it's a couple $100. I use the Go Collect app to chart sales and values of this book. Oh, it's not bad at all. 9.2. Last sales on these were around $120. And that's this year. So, but still, for just a rando Hulk issue from the 70s, $120. I should get a slabbed copy of this book just to say I have it. Maybe I will, but I'll bet people are charging over $200 for a 9.2 of this. But I love it. And again, as far as I know, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the only Wrightson Man-Thing. Henry Jeremek is on board with me. So there you go. And of course, he did the Hulk in the graphic novel he did with, was it? Yeah, it was Jim Starlin. The big, what was it called? It was one of those Marvel graphic novels. It was the Hulk and Thing teaming up. So this, I think that's the first time he drew the Hulk, is on this issue of the Hulk, but he also did it later. Now, here's something that's interesting to me. I think this is probably one of Wrightson's best covers. I mean, it's just so cool and creepy. But again, you have a big image. You got this voodoo guy with, like, I love these like faces on his fingers. Look at that hand, that gnarly hand. I actually saw the original art to this several years ago in San Diego. It was up for auction, and the auction was going on during the show. Not there like had an auctioneer or anything, but it was online. It was an online auction. and they had the original art there on display while it was being auctioned off. And it wasn't behind glass or anything. It was on an easel in the middle of this booth. You could just walk up there and check it out. I think it ended up going for like 10 grand or something. And now it's probably be 100 grand if it sold. But great cover. And, but this one is much cheaper. I mean, you're still looking at a couple $100 probably, but it's not like a $600 book or a $500 book like some of the other ones. And I think this is really a classic cover. And yet, you know, it's not, it's just weird that some books, there seems to be a plethora of them around. They're really easy to find. And then other ones from the same series, not so much. Now, who knows? Jerry for 10. Thank you, Jerry. Says, I wanted to thank you for the Instagram follow. It means a lot to me, truly. What you've done in self-publishing is incredibly inspiring. A million thanks and best wishes to Shelley. Thank you, Jerry. I appreciate that very, very much. Every once in a while, I'm flipping through Instagram and it shows you people you can follow. And I go, oh, there's Jerry. I should follow Jerry. But I don't do it very often. So that's why I don't follow a lot of people that are following me. It's nothing personal. I just got to remember to do it. But thank you, Jerry. Appreciate the $10. And I have like a fine copy of this. I really need a nicer copy of this. But again, I'm looking at, do I want to spend a couple $100 on this, or do I want to go get an older book? This is sort of a classic one too. This is House of Mystery 204. And it actually has a Wrightson story inside. So this cover story here with this gloppy monster thing, which is like pure Wrightson, if there ever was a, you know, a classic or a typical or cliche type of Wrightson, this is it. And I actually like the female in the background. Wrightson didn't draw the best women, but I love this, the shadows on her, the kind of the dynamics as she's sort of stepping forward, leaning forward to this thing. I just, the way she kind of falls into the shadows there, very nice. And it, like I said, he did the story inside too. So that's a must buy for me. And there's a lot of really good House of Mystery and House of Secrets where he didn't do the cover, but he did like the title page splash that are really, really cool. And finding all of those, I mean, I have a lot of them, but I don't have all of them. And they're easier to get because there's no Wrightson cover. So just because he has and there's no Wrightson story inside, just the one page pinup. So those usually aren't that expensive, but again, you got to find them, right? Now this is I don't have this. I bid on this at a Comic Link auction and I got outbid for it because it went up higher than I wanted to pay. But it's not super expensive. This is one of those ones that's probably in that $200 to $300 range in a 9.2. It's considered a classic Wrightson cover. You got to wonder who would hang a picture like that on their wall. But anyway, so you got this kind of zombie thing coming out of the painting to grab the wee lad there. So I don't own this one. I would like to, though. I think there's elements of it I really like and elements that I think are average. I think the kid is okay. It doesn't really do much for me. This going on back here, I don't care. This is what I care about is these zombies. And I was like, but I mean, you can't really pull this off if you made these guys bigger because you would lose your background and your depth. There's something wonky about the perspective on this too. I mean, this is a wall here, but it's flat. I would like to see your perspective. Like this is a wall right here, and this is, you know, in the background, right? Is that a window? Oh, I guess it's a window. Yeah, well, no, it isn't, because it is, but these kids are sneaking in the house. That's what's going on. So you really don't have the depth because we don't see any of this wall right here. It's a straight cutoff. So even what would have helped this was if this picture frame had more perspective going towards this window. So this showed more perspective. Then you get because it feels just kind of like it's a flat wall and then this background is flat. And so they just kind of blend in together. But if you had turned that wall using perspective more, we'd get a better, I think, better sense of that depth. But I love this stuff right here. And that's really all we're buying it for anyway, right? Now, this is a cover I have, shall we say, homaged more than once. Now, this is a great cover, too. And again, not as expensive as some of his other ones. And I think this is one of his all-time classics. But it's affordable. I do have a nice intermittent copy of this, which is hard because it's black background completely. But this, face of Abel coming out of the shadows with his fingers, like wax candle on his fingertips, I guess is what's going on there. It's just a really striking, stunning cover. And to find it in really sharp condition, which I have, and it's not slabbed either. So those of you who mock me for only buying slabbed, I got this raw, as they say, in really nice shape. And it's really striking, and I love it. Like I said, I've ripped it off more than once. And that's House of Secrets 103. And that's all I got for Bernie this trip. Oh, no, it isn't. I lied. This is my second favorite Swamp Thing cover right here. It's a great werewolf. The werewolf issue in here this is a great issue. The splash page, Wrightson did the best splash pages too. The splash page on this has got Swamp Thing kind of leaning against this big rock formation, and there's a crashed airplane in the background, and he's kind of hiding, and he's holding on to the dog he picked up, his wife's dog, I guess, from the first issue. And it's got a great werewolf splash, even though the perspective is messed up in it. Still, the drawing of the werewolf's incredible. See, Swamp Thing is when Wrightson first hit his stride. It was 1972. That's where the stuff he did earlier, 67 and 68, 69, 70, he was still trying to find his way. I mean, you could tell that he had something going on, but he hadn't put it all together yet. Then 71, you could see every once in a while you would see a piece he did that was really, really good. But then some of his other stuff was still, yeah. But then in 72, much like when I took over Sludge in 93, this is where Wrightson got consistently good. And you could tell that he sort of made that leap. It's still not his best work, but he was on his way. He had made that leap. And the same way, I was doing really inconsistent bad work until I got on Sludge. And I still don't think Sludge is that great, but it was the first real professional work I did, and sort of where everything sort of came together. I sort of got the confidence I needed, and then I kind of springboarded from there. So I never obviously reached the heights that Wrightson did. And, my Sludge is nowhere near as good as his Swamp Thing. But I'm just saying, in terms of, taking each of us individually, we followed that same sort of pattern. Where this book is where he sort of put it all together. Now, Wrightson's very best work, and we're not going to feature it here because he didn't do any covers of note, were for Creepy and Eerie magazine. That was his best comic book work. And it's not even close. And the stuff he did in those was just stunning. And then after he did that, he started going off and doing posters, prints, portfolios, trying to do the fine arts thing. And he didn't come back to comics until the 80s. And by then he was, wasn't the same guy. And, but in terms of comic book work, I would say that his creepy and eerie work, or at least in graphic storytelling, however you want to, because I guess they were magazines, they weren't comic books, they were, but they were, panel storytelling like comics. So there you go. Those are my favorite Wrightson covers. Creative Face says, yeah, but Garbage Man is awesome. Thank you, Faye. Garbage Man is arguably the best work I've ever done in comics. The reason being for that was that's literally the only book I ever worked on that I had no deadline. Ever. And even with Wraith of God, I have self-imposed deadlines and you guys waiting for a book. So it's like, I don't have the freedom just to take, I'll take a couple of years on this if I want to. I'm not going to do that, obviously. But with Garbage Man, what happened was I've told the story before. Originally, it was going to, when I sold the idea to DC, it was originally going to be his own series, right? And if that had happened, I would have been under deadline pressure to get it out and all this kind of stuff. And it may not have been the same book that it actually ended up being. And then it got switched to a miniseries. And then it got switched to backup stories in Batman. But again, I still would have had to be on a deadline because I would have had to have the stories done to go in the backup in the Batman books. But then that fell through. And then it just became this thing where they were going to do something with it, and they were going to do an anthology thing with it. But nothing was in stone. It was basically when I finished it, then they would do so we said, okay, it's going to 6-issue miniseries, and you got 6 10-page stories or 10-page sequences that all went to tell a bigger story. But so I did that, and I did them like I'd be working on Justice League or whatever I was working on. And then I'd, on the side, I would do Garbage Man. And so there was no like pressure on me. And so I could do whatever I wanted. I could take as much time on it as I wanted. Matt Ryan was inking it the same way, just kind of whenever he got around to it kind of thing. I mean, it wasn't that bad, but it wasn't very structured. And so I was able to take an inordinate amount of time for me to work on it. And so there was a lot more thought process into the storytelling, the visual storytelling, into the, the pencil work and the detail and all that kind of stuff. And so I think it's my pinnacle, really. Because I've never been in a situation where I had that much time to do something. And so anyway, that book is available on my website right now. Garbage Man, the trade paperback, is in there. And there's also a Garbage Man story in Wraith of God 2 Blood Hunters. And I'm trying to formulate a publishing plan that will allow me to do more topics. And one of the things I've been talking to David Williams about was this sort of Tales of Suspense format. And those of you who aren't old enough to have read Tales of Suspense back in the 60s, basically you had 2 stories, a Captain America story and an Iron Man story in every issue, because Marvel at the time didn't have control over their distribution, and the DC was controlling their distribution, and they only allow them to put out 10 titles per month or something like that. So the way they got more IPs out was to put a short story in each book. And so Tales to Astonish was the Hulk and Giant Man, and then the Hulk and Submariner. Tales of Suspense was Cap and Iron Man. Journey into Mystery was just Thor, but they had backup stories in there as well. And so what if I did a format where, let's say Wraith of God 4, right? Maybe I just make it a 24-page story. And then I have it, but also in the same book, you have a 24-page Garbage Man story. And then so you're not doing as many pages, so you're able to get it done a little bit faster, and I'm giving you more variety in terms of characters. So, and then maybe the next one would be Wraith of God, and it would be a nightclub story in the back, backing it up, or my dinosaur thing, or whatever, and I'm thinking about possibly doing that rather than doing these epic 64-page plus graphic novels that essentially take me a year to do. There you go. Strange Tales was Nick Fury and Doctor Strange. Thank you. That was the other one I was looking for. Yes. I originally created Garbage Man for Dan DiDio to replace Swamp Thing because Swamp Thing was owned by Vertigo and they would not allow DC to have it back. And he wanted a monster in the DCU. So I created Garbage Man, which was basically sort of similar to Swamp Thing, but could fill that niche, without being too far out there. And so that's what I did. And then as I started working on it, Dan got the rights back to Swamp Thing. And so Garbage Man was no longer needed. So we finished this Garbage Man story anyway, because I was halfway done with it by the time this happened. And then they never used it again. And so they gave me the rights back because they had this contract that was a creator-owned contract, but DC would pay you an amount of money, which was $1,500 or $2,500. And then they would have the rights to Garbage Man what is it called? In perpetuity, or whatever that word is, forever. Okay. With the restriction, they wouldn't have to pay me any more licensing fee. That was a one-time licensing fee. And now they had the rights to that character, but they had to do at least one Garbage Man comic a year, right? So they could have done like the Garbage Man Halloween special every year. And they had to offer it to me first. So they'd say, Aaron, we're going to do a Garbage Man, king-size Garbage Man Halloween special. Do you want to do it? And if I said, yes, of course I want to do it, then then it would be mine to write and draw. However, if I was, say, working on Superman or whatever, and I was like, I don't have time to do it, then they could give it to whoever they wanted to write and draw it. Okay. So I always had first right of refusal. But when they got Swamp Thing back, they didn't need Garbage Man anymore. It was repetitive. So it just sat there for the 3-year period or whatever. And then Dan DiDio, bless his heart, gave it back to me. And same with Kevin McGuire, who was in the same anthology book as me. It first appeared in Weird Worlds 1 through 6, which was a miniseries, an anthology miniseries. Bad idea, but that's what they did. And then in My Greatest Adventure miniseries, anthology miniseries, was another 6 issues after that. So there's 12 total issues of Garbage Man stories. Well, Kevin McGuire was doing an alien chick called Tanga, which is actually pretty good. And it was in there. And we used to talk all the time. We were going to get our rights back to these things. And I kept telling him, I said, Kevin, they're never going to give us these characters back to us, because all they have to do to keep the character is make us do an issue a year of it. And why wouldn't you do that? Because then you would maintain that IP that you might be able to use and exploit later for more money. But like I said, Dan was a good dude and he gave them back to us. And so Kevin's got his, even though he hasn't done anything with it. I think he's digitally put it together, collected it. But anyway, long story longer, DC never did a collected edition of Garbage Man. It was these 10-page segments, right, through 12 issues. So 120 pages. And so they never collected it. So I got the rights back. And so then I went to Dark Horse. I tried to crowdfund it and it was a disaster. But anyway, because I didn't know what I was doing and yada, yada, yada. So anyway, it didn't work as a crowdfund. So I took it to Dark Horse and they released it as the trade paperback. But Batman was in it a little bit. So I had to take Batman out and put my own characters in. So I put the nightclub in there to replace Batman. So there's some new pages in there. And so then they published it as a trade paperback. And that is the trade paperback that I now sell you guys, is the Dark Horse one, because I've been buying up all of their issues because it didn't really sell that well on the open market. because whenever they do something like that, Dark Horse really relies on you to promote it. And it's kind of like, I didn't really have a platform to promote it on at the time. Now I do. And so I sold more issues of Garbage Man trade paperback than Dark Horse has. Well, they sold them to me, and then I resold them. So anyway, so that's the story there. Well, I hope he finally did. He was doing something digital, and I was like, dude, why are you not collecting this in a trade paperback? So I guess hopefully he finally did it. That was a terrible impersonation of Kevin McGuire, and I apologize. He didn't go, but he was humming and hawing about doing it, and apparently maybe he finally did it, which is good. It's really good. You should check it out. Anyway, there you go. That was a long story, wasn't it? All right, so we've been out this 2 hours, but gosh darn it, we're not done yet. Hang on a second. Jolly 12 says, Aaron, would you have gotten the rights to issues from DC that weren't written by you? God, that's a good question. I doubt it. No, actually, if they'd give me the rights back to the character, I would have owned everything Garbage Man. Pretty much like you see, whoever owns the Conan license gets to use all the other Conan stuff. Like when Dark Horse had Conan's license, they used all the Marvel stuff. I don't understand how that works, but that's how it works. So yeah, I would have, if someone else had written and drawn a Garbage Man story, the rights of the character would have returned to me. But if they had done that, I doubt they would have given me the rights back, right? But the fact that they just was something that I did and no one else touched, it was easier decision to give it back to me because they weren't doing anything with it anyway. But yeah, I would have got the rights back. All right, so where are we at here? We're constantly on the lookout for the strange and unusual. And even though we're always on the lookout, we so rarely find it. Before we get into these compelling videos that you're about to see, let's take a moment for this quick public service announcement. That's right. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. It helps the channel grow. We need to get this channel to 5,000, man. I'm just kind of floating around like 4,200 or something. We need to beef this up. So hit that like and subscribe. Appreciate it very much. Okay, so what have I got for you today? Well, this first video I've entitled Ridiculous Bigfoot. That should tell you all you need to know, but I'm going to show it to you anyway, because you are the final judge always. So you have to ask yourself as you watch this video, is this a juvenile Bigfoot sitting on a bridge, or is it just a kid in jeans and a hoodie leaning on a bridge? To try and sell this to me as anything other than a kid sitting on a bridge is ridiculous. And yet they're trying to do it. Now, I always start off with the worst first because I want you guys to feel like there's hope. So you're walking along, you see this, and your first thought is, oh my gosh, that's a Bigfoot sitting on a bridge. No, my first thought is, what's that kid doing over there? And you know why that's my first thought? Because that's what it is. Convince me I'm wrong. Convince me that I'm looking at a Bigfoot. Captain Bitbo says it's Bigfoot youth sulking because ICE took his dad away. Colorize, isn't this a rerun? I do not think I've shown this one before. Now, Tarzanite Rocks says, how'd they get that footage of me? So he's admitting he was on the bridge, and that's him. It's not a Bigfoot. At least he's coming forward. Andrew Coda saying, that's me. Marilyn says the potato quality isn't helping. Stippling Vaughn says, I have 192 subscribers, and I'm happy with those 192 people. Well, you got to remember the one thing, though, Stippling, is that the more viewers you have, the more potential customers you have for your comic book. And that's what it's really all about. If I wasn't making comics right now, I don't think I would be doing this. Although it's now, I've been doing this for like 5 years, which is stunning to me to imagine. It's like a part of my life. If I didn't do the Sunday show, what would I do? There you go. They Doubt Me says, I've never seen a better video of Bigfoot. I don't think I have either, except every video I've seen is better than this one. Okay. So I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm just going to say, you know what? That was a kid sitting on the bridge, and you can spin it any way you want. But now this, what we have here, we have a still photo out in the woods, of course. A blurry still photo, because why would we want something like super clear? All right. My question is this even a thing? Is this a rock? Is it a, I mean, is that twig right there supposed to be his arm? I mean, this is his head right here. And then look at this arm goes all the way down here, but then he has a little twig arm here. And then there's no real legs. I mean, is this a classic example of someone taking a picture out in the woods and going, oh my gosh, that looks like, oh, isn't that funny? That rock looks like a dude, or whatever, a tree or whatever it is. But again, I have a hard time accepting the fact that they're trying to convince me that this is a photo of Bigfoot. It's definitely a photo of something. But I am having a little trouble with the arm here. And this one being so much longer. And even if he had it like pulled back behind his shoulder or whatever. You know, is this his knee right here taking a step up? Maybe. Maybe I'm just not seeing it right. Maybe it's right there in front of me and I just refuse to see it. Killraiser's clearing it up. He says, that's not a Bigfoot. That's a troll that has been exposed to the sunlight. Oh, and then he turns to stone, right? Huh? See? I know. Meryl saying, suspiciously like Malin. Interesting. Past Master Dan says, at this point, if it were in focus, I'd be suspect. That's true. I mean, it's just, there are no clear photos of Bigfoot. That just is not how it works. Corey Landis says, I don't even know that I'm addicted to stardom. Is that what it is? Well, okay. So, I mean, I can see how you can sort of, you know, when I was watching just Joe Rogan or listening to this Joe Rogan podcast, there's a segment from this podcast, they were talking about Bigfoot. And Rogan's idea was, look, you're out in the woods, you know, if you're not just a charlatan, right? He says you're out in the woods, you're already kind of on edge because there are wild animals out there. There's bears, there's mountain lions, there's, you know, any number of things that might spoil your day. So you're already on edge, right? And it's kind of spooky. You're out there, you know, and just, you see something, right? And Rogan he goes, he's multiple times seen bear, because he apparently hunts or whatever. He says bears walking on their hind legs, just around like humans. And he goes, it's not uncommon. And he says, so you're already at this heightened anxiety level. And then you see something like that. And suddenly your mind just goes, oh my gosh, it's Bigfoot or whatever. And then your mind just goes wild. And then then it becomes this something that it's not. And so that's kind of how he explains away all these sightings. Now, of course, half the stuff we're seeing are, people staging stuff. But yeah, he's very skeptical. Okay, now, this is entitled, of course, I came up with the titles myself because I'm so creative. This is entitled Bigfoot Walking by a Lake. Again, I wish I had better stuff to show you guys today, but I mean, this is the state of our Bigfoot community right now. You tell me. Keep your eye right in here. Right in here. Watch. There it is right there. Now, if you saw that, is your first reaction, my gosh, it's Bigfoot, or hey, there's a dude in a hoodie walking by the lake? This is what really irritates me, is a lot of stuff really irritates me, but in terms of these Bigfoot videos, what really irritates me is people will videotape anything and anyone and try to convince us that it's Bigfoot. I mean, I'm not even suggesting this is staged. I'm just saying it is a guy in a hoodie walking near the lake, and they're convinced themselves it's Bigfoot when it's clearly a guy in a hoodie. See, this is the kind of stuff that you get flunked out of my class, my Bigfoot class, for turning in work like this. I mean, there's not even a question that this is a guy in a hoodie. I mean, I'm not even for a second went, ooh, could that be Bigfoot? I went, that's a guy in a hoodie. And yet this guy is trying to, convince us otherwise. I'm sorry. Ronald Shaw wants to know if I'm checking out this Bigfoot. Yes, I do. They're hilarious. The only problem I have with it is that they've gone just like full gorilla. Like he just looks like a gorilla. I would rather have him look a little bit, caveman-ish, gorilla mix-ish. I mean, I still like the kind of animal monster look, but I would rather it looks too much like they're just gorillas out in the woods. I would have liked a little bit like the if they designed those AI things to look like the beef jerky Bigfoot, something like that, where he still looks like an ape, but he kind of looks like a man, kind of looks like a monster, kind of, that kind of thing. A little bit more creative, but they are funny. Unlike this video, which is not funny at all. All right, now this, you're going to look at this at first and go, what are you talking about, Aaron? But then as it gets closer, the picture will come into view. And this has potential. I'll go that far. It's certainly, maybe it's just compared to the rest of this crap we've been watching today, but this is the best of what we've got today. Okay, so you're looking at it and go, okay, it's circled in yellow, but you can't really tell what's going on here. And then as you get in closer, it starts to come together. Head, arm, leg, back. The thing is, it looks like he's got like a rug or something thrown over his shoulder. So it looks like it could be a costume. But what I do like about it is it's very sort of, kind of blends in with the tree. You don't really see it at first, so it's kind of tricky. But then you get in there and you clearly see it once you get past the camouflage. So whoever staged this, if this is indeed a staged photo and not a real Bigfoot sighting, I kind of like it. Although I think the closer you get, the more it feels like it's some sort of thrown together costume, but they doubt me. He says, now this is legit. Well, again, it's all relative compared to what we've just looked at. This is about as legit as you'd ever want. Well, there's always the question of why do we just get this one picture? I mean, if you're sitting there, you see Bigfoot and you're not taking a video, you're snapping like a gazillion photos, aren't you? I mean, I would be. I wouldn't just take, and maybe, he took a bunch of photos and this is the only one that turned out, or maybe it's fake and, the less is more. But like I said, I think for just a single shot of alleged Bigfoot, not bad. I would give this guy a B. I just kind of like how he's walking into the tree and you don't really see him at first, but then it's not like you zoom in and it gets more blurry and you kind of like, you clearly see the figure, but it also gives off this kind of idea that it's camouflaged at the same time. So I feel like, maybe a little bit more thought was put into this, or maybe they just got lucky. I don't know. Wait. Pity Ma says, not bad. I can't see it. Well, if you can't see it, how could it be not bad? Pity Ma, you're making no sense. Captain Bipto says, Perlman last seen with hippies in the woods. Well, that is the problem. And it always is the problem is 100%. They're just human proportions. It looks like a dude in a suit. But again, relatively speaking, what we've already seen today, it's pretty good. And maybe I am jaded. Maybe I'm grading on a curve, right? So everybody turns in their work to me, and it's like one crappy video after another. And I see this and I go, oh, this isn't bad. A. But if it was with a bunch of other good ones, maybe it's a C. Maybe it's just average. But I guess today I'm grading on a curve. Because this one struck me as, it's not bad. Okay, now I'm going to show this because I think it sort of reinforces my point. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, but I did a show a while ago, last year sometime, the debunking show, where I had a list of 4 or 5 cryptids, and I debunked those 5 and said, we're done with these, no more. One of them was the Chupacabra, and one of them was the Loch Ness Monster. And there was some other ones that were really bizarre that I'd never heard of before. But basically, I went to a website where this guy, you got the history of these things and what went into them. And I already knew the history of the Loch Ness Monster. Wasn't totally up on the Chupacabra. But basically, they went back and, the very first sighting, and then, the very first sighting of this cryptids were fake. So the whole legend was of the Chupacabra and Loch Ness Monster were based on 2 frauds. Okay. So there's no weight there to support any realism when the whole thing started because someone, it'd be like me go out in the woods and putting together a monster costume, filming it, trying to tell you it was real. And this is the very first sighting we ever saw of this creature. And then a whole legend is built on this creature. And then more people doing fake videos or whatever on this creature. And then suddenly people start to believe that it's real. And the whole thing was based on a fabrication from the get-go. And that's what basically was the Loch Ness Monster. And the fact that they have drug the lake with sonar and found nothing. So, I mean, come on, let's get real. But anyway, this is the definitive film for the Loch Ness Monster that people use as, oh yeah, look at that. Well, so it was taken in 1960. It appears this guy has is that a Bolex, it looks like? Good camera. I have a Bolex, Swiss made. I have a 16 millimeter Bolex. Okay. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So this guy's an engineer. And he was out there looking for evidence of, Loch Ness Monster. And he shot this film in 1960. And so this is sort of, we've all seen it, I'm sure, right? So we've got this black head thing sticking out of the water, whatever it is, and it appears to be some sort of trail behind it, which we're assuming is the body of this thing. Now, I'm not going to argue the fact that this is definitely something, but if this is the best evidence that you have this prehistoric sea monster, it's not very good evidence. But this is the definitive proof of a make-believe monster. Here it is. This is the best you're going to get. I mean, something is doing that, but I mean, you blow up the picture and that's what it looks like. I mean, I don't know what the heck that is, but you're not convincing me that's a plesiosaur. And I want to be convinced that it's a plesiosaur, but it's not. I don't know what it is, though. And again, the fact that they lined up boats in the 70s, like all the way the width of the lock, each with sonar on it, and did the entire length of the lock and back again and found nothing, that's a pretty good indication that there isn't some giant sea monster living in Loch Ness. Loch Ness without a T. Sorry about that. There you go. You know, I want to present you with the evidence, if that's what you want to call it. Captain Bippo says that's a seahorse. They only swim at night. This was like at 8 a.m. in the morning. So he'd been up there like from the crack of dawn. Jolly 12 apparently is a sucker because he believes everything. Pity Moss says, I believe, stop being a hater. I'm not a hater. I'm simply calling for the facts. I just want the facts, ma'am. Just the facts. And I want people, if they want to convince me that there's some sort of weird creature out there, I want at least decent video representation so that I can go, ooh, that's cool. Instead of stuff that's blatantly fake or blatantly not what they're trying to present that it is. I do believe that a car did drive by. This is misspelled, but white sturgeon. Sturgeons are generally responsible for these water monster sightings. They get really big. They're like giant catfish. I mean, they get to be like 15 feet long. I mean, they're just freaking huge. And I think that's, we used to have in Oregon, you go all the way to the eastern corner, northeastern corner of the state of Oregon. There's a lake out there called Wallowa Lake. Okay. And Wallowa is an Indian name. And it's a great camping spot. And a lot of people go there. There's a small lake there called Wallowa Lake. And they had, when I was there, and I was grade school, not very old, 5 or 6 maybe. And they had this like huge parking lot on one side of the lake, right? So everybody that was boating or whatever, fishing, could go and park. And in the middle of this parking lot was this bait shop, right? Kind of a little hut. But it had like, it had like just dumb thing. It had like chocolate covered ants in there, and it had candy and stuff like that. But it also, that's where fishermen would go and buy their bait. So I'm in there and this fisherman's talking to the guy behind the counter, and they're talking about sturgeon hooks. I'm talking about sturgeon. Well, when I get home, a few days after we get home, there's this news report on the Wallowa Lake monster. I'm like, we were swimming in Wallowa Lake. How did we miss the monster? You know, we didn't see any of this. And then it later came out that it was a sturgeon, which then makes sense because here you had this guy in the bait shop fishing for sturgeon. And so then there you go. That's how reality gets twisted into a myth and a legend. And we all want to believe that this stuff is real because it'd be so cool if it was. But until I get definitive proof, or at least reasonable proof, I'm going to remain a cynical, grumpy old guy. And here I am. All right, you guys. No, but you get hooks and bait for sturgeon in a bait shop. Jeez. All right. So thank you for joining me today. It's been another exciting episode, at least from my standpoint. I hope you enjoyed it. Wait a minute. What does Jerry say here? I love how Aaron tells this story and doesn't mention his parents. I'm picturing 8-year-old Aaron hanging out with a bunch of good. No, but look at back then. Okay, this is early 70s. I mean, really early 70s. If I was 6, maybe I was 7 or 8, but I couldn't have been older than that. We'd get a camp spot, and then we were just set free to run wild. You know, and it was incumbent upon us not to get lost, you know, and get back to our campsite. And that's just how things were, man. And I would never do that with my kids, but see you later. You know, lunch is at 2:00 or whatever, you know, and if you want to eat, you better be here. That's kind of how it was. So anyway, I want to thank you guys for joining me. I appreciate it very much. You guys, thank you for the super chats and the commentary in the chat. Couldn't do the show without you. You guys know that. I appreciate you very much. And again, please hit the like and subscribe if you haven't done that. And also, don't forget to back Wraith of God 3, 14 more pages to go, and that baby is finished. And also, if you want to get caught up on back issues, prints, anything like that, even original art, go to my website. You'll find a link there in the description of this video. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a safe week, and we will see you soon. I've got one more show before San Diego, so we'll see you right here next week on Aaron Live. Good night, everybody. Thank you.